Welcome everybody, my name is Matthew.
I'm Emily.
And we are here to introduce to you the first ever Vitality Vessel seasonal reset that you have jumped on into with us. We're so excited that you've decided to join us on this journey, and we're really looking forward to the week ahead. So this is the first time that we're doing the seasonal reset with Vitality Vessel, and I started Vitality Vessel not too long ago, and this is just the very beginning of a platform for really focusing on inner vitality as a source of true contentment and fulfillment in our lives, based off of Eastern medicine, as well as modern circadian rhythm science, neuroscience, and even modern fitness science. So we're bringing a lot together, but this particular effort and retreat is going to be really based in the ancient Eastern medicine. And I am so excited because my very own sister Emily is here to do this with me, and we have some really great synergy going into this together. It just totally spontaneously came together, actually. We had kind of dreamed about this type of thing, and here we are. So we're going to start out by introducing ourselves and our background, and then we're going to get into a little bit about why we're doing this reset at this time of the year, and then we'll just cover a little bit of the basics about what we're going to do so you are prepared for the week. So to start, I'll introduce myself. If you've seen my name on the platform or elsewhere, I call myself Menpa Matthew. And that is because I am a traditional Tibetan medicine practitioner. I went through 4 years of training in traditional Tibetan medicine full-time with the Shangshan Institute in Conway, Massachusetts. And I followed the traditional curriculum that is used in the schools in India and in Tibet. And then we did our internship and our final examination with the college in Xining, which is the Qinghai province, and in ancient times is Amdo region of Tibet. And this is where the most sort of developing academic and medical space for Tibetan medicine is right now. It used to be a lot more focused in Lhasa. There's still Lhasa Mensikang. It's still really thriving. But actually, Amdo has really become the epicenter of the growth of Tibetan medicine within China and Tibet. So there's not a lot of Westerners who have actually gone through the traditional training of Tibetan medicine. So it's kind of a unique background that I have. And then not only that, but I'm also a teacher of Tibetan yoga, which is also kind of a rarity in the West these days. And Tibetan yoga is very much informed by Ayurveda and Tibetan medicine in the benefits. You know, we really understand the benefits of applying Tibetan yoga in the ancient texts according to Ayurveda and Tibetan medical knowledge. Also, Tibetan yoga is unique because we really focus on the breathing and energy system as the real base for yogic knowledge. So the methodologies that we apply are really for coordinating the breathing, introducing different types of retention of breath that actually help to balance our nervous system. And that is really important when we want to talk about the gut-brain health, right? Our nervous system has so much impact on our gut, and our gut has so much impact on our nervous system. So we're going to really dive into all of that. So bringing Tibetan medicine and Tibetan yoga knowledge into this is really a special source for understanding the gut-brain connection. And that's why I'm so excited to be talking about this with you guys and sharing this experience. Actually, for thousands and thousands of years, it's been known that the gut and the brain have a very intrinsic connection. So this field of Eastern medicine has been working with this knowledge for a long time. So when we bring all this together, we're really going to be resourced in our daily lives to feel a sense of balance in both our neurological system and in our digestive system. So I'm just excited to bring all of this. And then in addition to those two backgrounds, I also teach Respira method, which is kind of the essence of Tibetan yoga. a method for learning how to breathe really completely and harmoniously in our more natural form, the form that babies breathe when they're first born. So we're also going to bring that into the fold. So that's a little bit about my background. Emily, please go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll talk more about why we're doing that at this time of year.
Great. Thank you, Matt. So yes, very thrilled and excited to be partnering with my brother in this program, along with his amazing background and history and wisdom to bring in of the Tibetan medicine. My background is in Ayurveda, and I am trained formally as a power vinyasa teacher, and then have taught yoga for the last 10 years. And within that, I completed an additional 500-hour training in Ayurveda yoga at Kripalu, which is also ironically located in Western Massachusetts, where Matt did his training. Very close by. Those schools are very close by. I also am an Ayurvedic health counselor through Kripalu, and I'm studying with one of my mentors at the Boston Ayurveda Institute to become a practitioner. So I'm a little under halfway through that program, and it's been a really amazing learning and able to bring this type of teaching that incorporates diet, lifestyle, with my background and training of meditation, breath work, and yoga to really then dial in when it is appropriate to practice certain types of yoga, certain times of day, certain seasons. When is it appropriate to bring in breath work, and what kind of breath work for what types of dis-ease or even seasonal imbalances we might experience, or just for daily maintenance. So that's really cool. And another really cool aspect that I will be going into, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is also just our mental nature. So within the gut-brain health, not only is it about having agency over our nervous system, but then also creating awareness around the kinds of qualities of things that our mind are impacted by, which then impacts our nervous system and our nervous system response. So that's a little snapshot about my history and background in studying Ayurveda, and I've really been able to take this knowledge and write curriculum for programming. We get to launch this awesome first seasonal reset, which we plan to do many more of each season, and also work one-on-one with clients and in private group settings as well. So along with learning about gaining agency over our nervous system and understanding the types of foods that help to nourish that, it's important for us to understand the actual fundamental principles of why we're even doing this reset right now in the summertime. And one of the really cool things about Ayurveda and Tibetan medicine is that they're both complete systems of medicine. They're also complete science systems. And a lot of the things that we see emerging in contemporary or modern science are very much backed up from ancient science. So we'll fold some of that into our teachings, but they're maybe have different words for the elements, different language, but a lot of it is very parallel and similar. So it's really going to be fun and cool to fuse these types of medicines together. And I would love to invite Matt to kind of dive a little bit deeper into the context of why we're choosing to do the training right now.
And I'd like to add that actually, historically, Tibetan medicine is actually a synergy of all Eastern medicine, starting with the base of indigenous Tibetan culture, pre-Buddhist Tibetan culture, based in the Shangshung kingdom and the Bon tradition. And then it sort of gradually brought in all Eastern bodies of knowledge in medicine. So Indian medicine, which is Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, Persian medicine, Roman medicine. So there's a really rich history. And in fact, we actually share really the core theory is basically the same. So it looks like either it's a translation or there's different stories about the origins of how Tibetan medicine came to be what it is today. And it doesn't really matter too much for our purposes, but just to know that Ayurveda and Tibetan medicine are essentially working with the same core theory. And Emily mentioned that there's some emerging sciences that relate to why we're doing this, and that's that circadian rhythm science, right? So now all the hype is about timing, eating, and sleeping, and all of this, because there's major research on how much of an impact the time that we eat and sleep and exercise and do all of these things has on our overall health and our gut microbiome. And time is really the movement of the day, right? But not only the day, also the season. So I haven't heard a lot in the modern science yet around seasonal circadian rhythm. I do know that, there's knowledge growing about seasonal foods being really good for the microbiome and so forth, but still hasn't quite reached that level. We do know that according to the modern science, there's little clocks in every cell of our body that's regulating every single process. And the more that we align with the cycle of time and the natural cycles of time, the more health we have. And I can tell you from my own experience that when I really connect with circadian rhythm, I find a really good foundation of just flow in my state, in my health, in my mental state, and I'm able to really keep routines that keep me thriving. So when we align with the more macro level, on the seasonal level, we're really tapping into circadian rhythm on a very deep, rich level. In both Ayurveda and Tibetan medicine, we work with the season based off of the different elements that manifest or predominate that season, okay? So, for example, in the winter, we talk about, the accumulation of sort of that cold, heavy energy. In Ayurveda, they call it kapha, right? And in Tibetan medicine, we call it peken, but it's the earth and water element accumulate. And in spring, it arises, right? Just like when all the snow melts, it turns into water, and so it comes out. Similarly, in our internal bodies, we have this release of this earth and water element, so we can have diseases or problems that are more related to that. In the summer, we accumulate heat. In the summertime, right? There's all this heat, and just like the crops are growing or the fruits growing, they're collecting the power of the sun, right? And then in the fall, we're harvesting all that energy of the sun. Same thing's happening in our body. The fruit of heat arises in the fall. And so we can have more problems related to heat nature. In the spring, what happens is you get that initial warmth, but what you have is a lot of wind, right? In the late spring especially, it gets really windy, depending on where you live, but there's more activity and movement. And in the springtime, everything starts to move and grow, and there's all this activity and movement. But because it's kind of warm, especially in the late spring, we don't really necessarily have this arising of this wind element. But what happens is in the later part of the summer, especially July and August, oftentimes we get a little bit more humidity, or we get more monsoon season. You can have some thunderstorms and all of this. So there's this kind of wet, cool nature. And what that causes is the wind element in our body to arise. So we can have more problems with what we call the wind element. The wind element, we're going to get way more in depth on our first day on Saturday of the program. But what we just need to understand is that the wind element is one of the most important elements for us to keep in check to have health. It governs our neurological system. It governs our gut-brain connection. And if the wind element goes out of balance, it makes cold nature problems worse, and it makes hot nature problems worse. Because if you can imagine, when the wind blows, it makes fires bigger, and it makes ice colder, right? So we said in the spring, there's problems arising from the winter accumulation. In the fall, we have arising from the heat accumulation. So in that middle season, in that summer season, we have this wind element arising. So we're going to take you through a journey this week to really balance the wind element for this season, but also for your daily life, because we're constantly dealing with this overactive neurological system, especially in this modern day. And in fact, when we work with the circadian rhythm, we're really also helping to keep our wind element balanced. There's all these cycles of time that are going on all the time, right? So time is moving and there's always this shifting and changing of these elements. The same movement and of the elements through the season and the year are also happening throughout the day. But this is movement. All is in nature of movement and change. And wind is always kind of there with this movement and change. So when we align with circadian rhythm throughout the day, throughout the year, we're also helping to balance the wind element. So this is a fantastic opportunity to basically seasonally calm our system down while also giving us resources to keep ourselves balanced throughout the year. Emily, I'd love to invite you to talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing during the program.
Great. Thank you, Matt. So as Matt mentioned, the emphasis is going to be on really nourishing the nervous system through gaining agency and understanding of how our wind element works within us and our relationship to our thoughts and the types of activities that we engage in that stimulate also our mental and emotional reaction, which then also is governed by the wind element as well. So what we'll do is on Saturday, the first session from 3 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, Matt will guide through a full-on breakdown of the 5 winds of the body, and he can talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. And on Sunday, we'll also have a 3 to 6 p.m. Pacific time workshop as well, where I'll go through the mental nature and the 3 different states of our mental nature, our innate nature and the 2 natures that impact our mental state. After we have then our weekend sessions, we'll then go into the retreat session. Monday through Friday, we'll have 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time, really nourishing practice of sort. And it will range from vata balancing, which is the air and space element practice of yoga, breath work, and meditation. We'll learn the Respira technique method. We'll go through Abhyanga, which is self-massage and oiling. We'll cover another Tibetan yantra yoga practice as well, and also tie in meditation and breath work through a little bit deeper understanding of ways we can incorporate it every day. And then we'll have evening sessions from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, and this is where we'll go deeper into the richness of the content of whether it's learning how to use oils and the different types of hormone therapies through Tibetan medicine, to setting our circadian rhythm and accountability and building into this retreat, ways that you can commit to something for the 5 days of the retreat, but also what can you take with you after. We'll go deeper into sleep therapies and remedies. Kind of whatever you experience in the morning, the evening session will be more of unpacking that content or how to pull that through into your daily practice. We really want you to feel supported, nourished, to have a space where you can practice and implement these different practices every single day to feel safe in your body, your mind, and your energy, and promote longevity, right? And make it through the summer season without feeling burnt out and having this accumulation of the wind element. So that's going to be our primary focus, is giving you these tools, but also giving you a space to where you can feel really nourished, supported, and reset after the week and have something to take with you afterwards. I think the other thing that we wanted to make sure is that you have a community of people that you can do this with as well. So we're really excited for all of you that have signed up and joined, and we have this mighty network that y'all can connect and engage in. We'll be doing the sessions in the live on Zoom, but we will also record them. So we know that life happens and kids happen and, jobs and all the things that can pull us away. But we are going to build in as much of a retreat experience as we can. So with that, there are some things that we're going to invite you to do during this retreat. Matt, do you want to cover a couple of the things that we're going to invite you to do?
In the beginning, you're going to get a structure for a daily routine, and not only in the sessions, but also just your flow of the day. So we're going to start introducing this flow of the elements and the circadian rhythm. And this will give you that experience of tapping into a rhythm that you can also bring with you afterwards. And the sessions will be part of that rhythm, but also your kind of daily routine. One thing we're really going to emphasize in this retreat especially is that nighttime routine, because nighttime is when we really want to let that wind element kind of balance, and we want to really nourish ourselves in that evening time and just let things kind of go and settle down. It's very important at night to have that restorative time for the wind element, especially, and that gut-brain connection. One of the most important things is that we want to really eliminate screens at night as much as possible. Now, one thing I always like to say and talk about when it comes to routine, we don't want to create a prison for ourselves with routine where we feel more stressed as a result of it. That's not the idea. This is really to help you feel more balanced, at least for this one little 5 to 7 day period. But if you've got other responsibilities that you just have to follow up with and you need to bust out a screen, that's just the way it is, right? But we do actually want to try to keep even the screens during the day to a minimum, but most of all, really important is to shut out all media, okay? That means TV shows, social media, news. We really want to give our senses and our brain and our mind time to just kind of clear out, and be more internal. So that's one very important part of it. Also, what we're going to do at the end of this video, you're going to have the instructions for how to make a supplement that is going to be your main wind element balancing supplement for the retreat. And we're going to take that every morning when we get together, first thing in the morning. And there's a couple options. We have a vegan option. We have the option that's with ghee. And then we're also going to be taking the supplement in the evening, which will be either bone broth or another dose of the vegan option. And so we're really going to be basically bookmarking each day with these really powerful wind balancing supplements. So that's going to be part of our routine as well. And you're going to learn how to do that right after this. So Emily, do you want to explain any last things before we move on to showing them how to make the cool supplements?
I just want to add that myself and Matt will also be partaking in this retreat as well. So we're committed to doing this with you and shutting our media down and nourishing our nervous systems. And it's just so important for us to give us that, to do as best as we can to take the space internally that we need so that we can feel totally relaxed and supported moving into the hotter time of the year.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's like I always fall into these patterns where it's like I thrive if I'm doing these things, and then I fall out and I have to give myself grace. Life happens, we're busy beings. The more we give ourselves space during this little time period, the more result we're going to get, and the more we're going to realize how great it is to bring that into our daily lives as well, as much as possible. Any last words before
That's it. Thank you so much. Excited to dive into some recipes with you.
All right. And I do want to mention one last little point, that in addition to these recipes, these supplements, we're also going to give some basic guidelines for foods that are going to basically be like an extension of the supplement. So really nourishing foods that digest easily, and also like nourish our system and our nervous system. So just really grounding foods. For example, like root vegetables and this type of thing. We're going to give you these resources in advance so that you can also do a little shopping before we get started with that routine on Monday morning. All right, so we'll see you soon.
All right, everyone, this is your Ojas milk. So to begin, for your one batch of ingredients, you'll start with 2 dates, 8 almonds soaked. You can do this with whole milk, or for our vegans, this is alternative, either hemp milk or preferably almond milk, because almond milk is going to be heavier and more grounding for our wind element. For the daytime ingredients for the spices, you'll include powdered ginger, powdered cinnamon, powdered cardamom, poppy seeds, and a pinch of saffron, and that will come at the end. You can also, at night, add a pinch of nutmeg to help you sleep at night, which we'll add in the evening batch. You'll also want to have a saucepan that you can boil the ingredients in and a blender to blend at the end. You can also use an immersion blender to go directly in the pot. Let's begin with our almonds. You'll need 8 almonds soaked overnight so that they're easy to peel. You'll take the almond and just peel off the skin. You'll do this for all 8 almonds. Take your 8 almonds that have been soaked overnight and peeled and toss them in the pan. Take your milk of choice, again, whole organic milk or almond milk, 1 cup. Add it to the pan. 1/8 of a teaspoon of ginger, 1/8 teaspoon of poppy seed, 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon of fresh powdered cardamom. Be sure to stir the pot and keep this on a low boil for 4 minutes. Pour into the blender or use your immersion blender directly in your pot. And then blend. And then make sure it's a nice frothy consistency. Pour in your cup. Get all the good stuff out. And then depending on if you're drinking this in the evening or in the morning, for the evening or the morning, you'll add a pinch of saffron. For the evening, you'll do a pinch of nutmeg to help you sleep. Here is your Ojas milk. Cheers.
In this video, you're gonna learn how to make garlic ghee chudlen. Chudlen means receiving the essence. So we're receiving the essence of the nourishing medicines for the wind element. You're gonna need ghee, either store-bought or homemade, and 1 head of garlic. Start by peeling your garlic and getting it ready. I like to do a trick that I learned in home economics in high school. Basically, you just smash the clove of garlic a little bit and peel off the skin. Nice and easy. Now you're gonna put your peeled cloves of garlic into a saucepan and add enough water so that they're covered and you can boil them. Boil for about 20 to 30 minutes until the garlic is very soft and there's just a little bit of water left in the bottom. And then you're gonna go ahead and start smashing up the garlic. Should be really easy to smash. And we just have a little bit of liquid left. You might have had to add a little bit of liquid to make sure that it stays with water. Now we're gonna take 3 tablespoons of ghee. They don't have to be exact, and just add it right in here. And what's gonna happen next is we're gonna let this cook a little bit with the ghee, and the water is gonna dissolve as it cooks. And once the water has completely evaporated from the ghee, we're basically ready to go. We just want this to become one consistent thing. As the water starts to evaporate, you can go ahead and make sure that the ghee and garlic become merged a bit. You're gonna start seeing more bubbles coming out as the water evaporates. And after about 5 to 10 minutes, you're gonna have a nice, creamy, emulsified garlic ghee chudlen. Beautiful. And you can go ahead and transfer that into the jar of your choosing. Beautiful.